Chris Jones.
Thank you, Michaela, and thank you to everyone that's out there watching me live. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce this new intelligent and powerful actuator, the PMB and PKB series actuator. As you can see on the screen below, we have two versions available, the electronic failsafe PKB series and the non-failsafe PMB series. This actuator derived its life from the advanced butterfly valve product line, which was introduced last year in 2017. With the successful product introduction of the complete new butterfly valve line that we introduced, the innovations came from the valve body design, ease of installation, and new actuator features and functions with the PR and PKR waterside actuator. Nearly immediately, the customer feedback was, well, when can we use this on damper applications? Well, that's the purpose of this presentation. So as of April 1st, this product line is now in the product guide and price list for 2018, starting availability April 1st. What does the product line consist of? We are making 3 models available. As I mentioned, 2 non-failsafe versions and 1 failsafe version. All the actuators incorporate the Belimo universal power capabilities, which means it can be used in 24 volt all the way up to 230 volt AC applications. The primary benefit of this product is the torque, 1,400 inch-pounds. We can just say wow on damper applications. So the base actuator version, the PMB UP-3-T, is an on-off or floating point type actuator for simple on-off floating point control applications. We do have the MFT version available, which enables the modulating applications of 2 to 10 volts or 0 to 10 volts or whatever voltage requirement that you have. The failsafe version, the benefit here is that you have the power off position capabilities, which means that you can preset what position the actuator will be in the event of a power loss. Just to note, only basic versions of this product are available, such as the PMB series. If you want to customize the functionality of the actuator, it will be done in the field only at this time. So you can order the basic version from Belimo and customize it in the field. So how does this product fit into our portfolio of damper actuators? I'll just give you a quick overview. For non-failsafe applications, on one end of the spectrum is this tiny 18 inch-pound CMB series actuator. The LMB series, of course, is 45 inch-pounds of torque. The NMB series, 90 inch-pounds of torque. AM, 180 inch-pounds of torque. And now we're starting to get up into some larger damper applications. The GMB series, 360 inch-pounds. And as with most of the Belimo actuators, you can use the highest torque actuator as a dual mount application. So we go from 360 up to 720 inch-pounds. And of course now with the introduction of the PM series, 1,400 inch-pounds. The failsafe versions of the product line, the existing failsafe, we start with the TF series, again at the low end of the spectrum, 22 inch-pounds. The LF at 35 inch-pounds. The NF at 90 inch-pounds. The AF at 180 inch-pounds, EFs at 270, and of course the dual mounting. The electronic failsafe current portfolio is the AHK series, the NKQ at 54 inch-pounds, and the GKB series at 360, and the dual version at 720 inch-pounds, and the PKB series at 1,400 inch-pounds. So while 1,400 inch-pounds sounds like a lot, it's not that far away from dual GKB series or dual GMB series actuators. But 1,400 inch-pounds is quite substantial. So where are we going to use this actuator? Some of the applications that are existing out in the marketplace. Today we have heavy commercial, or what we're calling heavy commercial and industrial air damper applications. These are applications that consist of the actuator is mounted outdoors, or it's mounted in not a hostile environment, but an environment where NEMA 4X is required. NEMA 4X is standard on all of these actuators. So of course the dampers themselves, they can be round, they can be rectangle, square, quite a wide range of applications are existing out there and available from damper manufacturers. The key thing here is where we're going to use 1400 inch-pounds is in medium to high velocity and high pressure applications. So the photos that you see on screen are representative of a few applications that we've done in the past with the old SY series valve actuator. And now, this actuator is going to be designed for these applications specifically. In the upper right-hand corner, you see a damper actuator assortment that we put together using triple EFs and a custom mounting bracket to make them act as one. And of course, this is exactly what we're going after with this application of the PM, which is that we don't have to do this on certain applications. Single actuator on a single damper. So to review the mounting and installation of this actuator, we have the conventional direct coupled, and I put that in quotations for a reason, because the actuator was originally designed for the butterfly valve application. We need a clamp, or we need a mechanism to attach the actuator to a damper. So the question really is for us is the conventional universal clamp with a V-bolt sufficient to handle 1400 inch-pounds? And we came to the conclusion that no, it's not robust enough for us with this level of torque range. So the reality of the application is it's very consistent with a retrofit, a butterfly valve retrofit application. So as you can see on the screen, we have the need for a mounting bracket, a coupler, and we need to know the dimensional characteristics of the damper. You know, what does the output shaft and mounting look like from the damper manufacturer? The best thing we can say right now is that use the retrofit form and we can capture all of the data needed so that we can provide the necessary coupler and bracket accordingly. It is not offered in the box of the actuator. It is an add-on accessory. The other application that we have is linkage applications or remote mounting of the actuator. So again, we take a picture of the PMB series actuator, and shown on the picture now is a linkage assembly that we will have available. Part number would be an FCA-3, and this is a linkage that the actuator would direct couple or directly mount onto this linkage, and the linkage would be secured to a secure surface. Of course, given the torque range of 1400 inch-pounds, everything needs to be very robust. And it comes with a pre-installed crank arm that you can then connect to the application using linkage. So to overview some of the features and benefits of this actuator, near-field communication is standard on these actuators, and it allows you to parameterize the functionality of the actuator, the control signal input, the power off position, for example, are a couple of things that you can use the near-field communication to access these core functions. The universal power supply, as I mentioned, is 24 volts up to 240 volts AC, 24 to 125 volts DC. This really is a benefit for simplicity. One actuator on the shelf is going to pretty much be a universal actuator that will fit the application requirements. One actuator reduces the efforts and planning and increases the overall flexibility and utilization of the actuator. Of course, we have the electronic fail-safe feature as well. And this is a staple for Belimo at this point, which is to use a supercap technology to return the actuator to a safety position. This has an interesting feature to it where you can specify or determine the amount of time that the actuator delays between when a power is lost and when the actuator actually starts to drive towards the fail position. So in this case, the default, we call it a bridge setting, is at 2 seconds. So 2 seconds after a power loss, the actuator starts to fail safe, return to a position. Straight out of the box, the actuator can be up to full charge and ready to return in the event of a power loss in 20 seconds. The smart heating logic, essentially we have a heater built into the actuator, and there's a temperature sensor and a humidity sensor in the actuator with a logic sequence that is designed to prevent condensation buildup inside the actuator. Again, these are NEMA 4X rated actuators, so having this smart heater is a true benefit for longevity and durability out in the field. The actuators, the modulating versions or the MFT versions of these products incorporate BACnet communication, specifically BACnet MSTP, and that is standard in the actuator. As with most of our, or all of our conventional damper actuators, we have clear position indication from the front of the actuator. We are not using the butterfly valve position indication accessory at this time, although it can be used if, depending on the application, basic offering initially. Ease of installation, one of the benefits here is simply the junction box that covers the wiring terminals, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in just a second. Low power consumption as compared to some of the industrial actuators in this particular torque range. Significantly less power consumption, reduced transformer sizing, improved or cost savings with a lower or smaller transformer size, and reduced wire gauge size due to the lower power consumption. Overload protection is an integral feature of all Belimo actuators. So this overload protection protects the actuator throughout its rotation. If there is a situation that the damper would be jammed in its place, the actuator will not burn out. And it also improves the ease of installation of this particular actuator because there are no end switches to set inside the actuator. Reduce height and weight of the actuator, relatively small package and less weight for 1,400 inch-pounds. So it's a nice, relatively lightweight actuator to ship, reduce cost on shipping. And of course, the adjustable running time is a feature of the product. It is adjustable from 30 to 120 seconds. The default out of the factory is 35 seconds. Configurable in the field, as you'll see in just a second. Again, the NEMA 4X enclosure. The actuator comes with a handle built inside or built onto the side of the actuator, and please use it to control or handle the actuator when walking up and down the ladders, and do it safely, please. The temperature range of the product is consistent with commercial HVAC applications, -22 to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. The ease of wiring, this was introduced again with the PR for the butterfly valve applications. The cool thing here is that there's simply 4 Phillips head screws. Loosen the screws, take off the junction box cover, and there's a nice tether that holds it in place, so you don't have to worry about losing the cover. Of course, the important thing is to maintain the NEMA 4X enclosure rating is make sure the cover goes back on. The auxiliary switch adjustment and manual override of the actuator, these are 2 integral features of the product, and you would essentially use the manual override, which is shown in the picture down on the left-hand side. You would pop the manual override out of its holding position and use it to unplug the areas of where you would adjust the auxiliary switch and where you would use as the manual override to override the actuator for hand-off auto type operation. The manual override functionality is identical to the PR series actuators. So you insert the manual override into the receptacle and begin to crank the actuator open or closed, in this case without power. Or with power, it actually overrides the power supply to the actuator temporarily, so you have manual access. I mentioned already the 80% less power consumption, of course, when compared to equal torque industrial rated actuators. Smaller transformer sizing and lower wiring costs are the direct benefit. Looking at the technical design features of the product, on the butterfly valve application, we incorporated a function, which is the self-adjusting end stop feature, and this was a valve assembly specific function, and this is something that we took out for airside applications. So this actuator is delivering its full rated torque throughout the angle of rotation that is required for the application. There's no additional torque curves going on with this particular version because it's not needed due to the application. So if we look a little deeper in the actuator with regards to the near field communication, the app that is used, the Belimo Assistant app, which is used to configure this actuator, and we'll touch the surface a little bit on the BACnet MSTP option. So if you have an Android-based cellular phone or smartphone, you have near field communication built in, and of course you can use that, download the Belimo app from the Google Store, and you're ready to go. We do have an option for the iPhone. This was also introduced late last year, and this is a zip-Bluetooth or BT-NFC accessory, which is used for the smartphone. So instead of near field communication on the iPhone, we're going to use the Bluetooth connectivity of the iPhone to connect to the actuator through NFC. So a little bit deeper into, well, what are you going to adjust? The app itself is very straightforward and intuitive to utilize, and it gives you a nice little overview screen that shows you the current actuator position, the current program running time, the power supply voltage that's currently connected to the actuator, given that this is a universal power supply actuator. You can actually see the correct voltage. Scrolling through a little bit through the app, you can of course see a little bit further details with regards to the power off position that you set in the actuator. And a really cool thing here is that you can get a deeper dive into what's actually going on from a diagnostic point of view. You can see the number of changes or direction changes of the actuator, the number of starts, hard starts of the actuator, how many times did the actuator begin its rotation, how many times the actuator has captured an overload condition. It'll display that in the app, and the number of power losses or power cycles that the actuator has seen. The app is going to pull that data out of the actuator and display it in a nice format for you. From a BACnet point of view, BACnet MSTP, we have the ability to connect up to 2 passive sensors. A passive sensor, I'll show you in the next screen here. A passive sensor is also available from Belimo, and it's connected directly to the actuator, directly inside the enclosure, right onto the terminal strips. I'll give you just a quick overview here of the terminal strip. Once you pull the cover off, all of the terminal strips are press to fit type terminals, so it doesn't require a screwdriver. And the particular terminal strip that we're highlighting is used for the modulating output of the actuator. The next terminal to the right is where we connect our passive sensors, and you can configure the sensor types. In this case, I'm just showing the Belimo NI and PT 1000 sensors available. If you check out our Belimo product guide and price list, the 01 DT series of sensors can be directly connected to this actuator. And the great thing about this is now that you're connected over BACnet MSTP, which is the terminal to the far right, you have the ability to now utilize this additional sensor input without consuming without consuming additional sensors at the controller. this information is now available over BACnet. And of course, the power supply. The great thing about the universal power supply, take your power wires, connect them to the actuator, set it and forget it. There's nothing additional for you to do, just connect the power supply. And of course, the terminals to the far right, or far left, excuse me, represent the auxiliary switches, which are 2 single pole double throw auxiliary switches for position indication or load switching. There is a limit to the load that you can switch, so please look at your design of your wiring circuits to see what the actual load is and consider if you need a pilot duty relay to support the actual current and voltage that you're switching. Wow, already made it through to the end. So some additional resources that you have available to you. The printed product guide and price list. You can find the PM and the PK series actuators. Of course, please visit our website at Belimo US. And there you can find, or you will find, the individual product data sheets and the BACnet pick statement that will help you out in connecting this actuator to your BACnet network. Important also is when you are looking to use this actuator, it's a great thing to really have the damper manufacturer's data sheets, because we are going to need some of the physical dimensioning information about that damper. Not only the damper physical size, but how to connect the actuator to the damper. And that's where I referenced before, the best thing we can say from the beginning of launching this product is please use our retrofit form that exists, which is representing the UFSP series butterfly valve retrofit. It is the closest thing we have to capturing, or the form to capture the application requirements, so we can design the correct interface to mount the actuator. The linkage application, yeah, I showed you the part number, the FCA-3, and there'll be more information about this device when we launch the product. So that is most of the presentation. If there's any questions, we'll be happy to address them.
Thank you so much, Chris. For those of you who have questions, what you'll need to do is open up your question box, type in your question. I will read them aloud and Chris will answer them as best as possible. Just a friendly reminder, this webinar has been recorded and will be posted to our various Belimo websites and YouTube channel so that you can view this webinar once again. So Chris, are you ready for some questions?
Sure.
All right, they're coming through. Can you tell me, is the housing waterproof for outside applications?
Yes, that's the NEMA 4X, is specifically for outdoor applications. So that includes all the weather conditions that come along with it. NEMA 4X is a very robust standard for us to design to for outdoor applications.
Okay. Getting questions. In the future, will there be a PM retrofit form instead of using the butterfly form?
Yes, I think that would be certainly a logical thing for us to work towards. The utilization of the butterfly valve retrofit form was a necessary evil, so to speak. So after reviewing that form, it just made sense to just use that form from the beginning.
Okay. For the crank arm accessory that was shown, what diameter push rod and length should be used?
The length is anybody's guess, because the length is application specific. The diameter, yeah, we're dealing with 1,400 inch-pounds. Depending on the linkage geometry, we can also theoretically increase that 1,400 inch-pounds. So is there a specific diameter? I can't exactly answer that, but yeah, the standard 3/8 of an inch or 5/16 push rods that we have available will not be sufficient. So I would guess, I don't know, it depends on the material, whether it's solid piece of material or a hollow piece of material. I guess it really depends on the application. 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, it depends on the material that's being used. 1/2 inch threaded rod, sorry, is not going to cut it for this actuator.
Okay. For the auxiliary switch connections, do they not have power to them, or do they have power to them?
I have to read into that question a little bit, but the power applied to the switch comes from the circuit that you're trying to control. So we're just interrupting that circuit. So no, there's no power inside the actuator going to the auxiliary switch and out to the load. So no, it does not have power built in.
Can you go over the approximate price of the actuators again?
Yes, can I just flip through to that screen?
Yeah, I think you were on slide 3 if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry, 1 second. So just want to get to that screen. Probably could have done this easier, more efficiently, I should say.
There we go.
So the PMB UP-3-T is a list price of $2,421. PMB UP MFT-T, list price $4,639. And the fail-safe version, as you can see, $5,639 list price.
Okay, can this be used in low temperature applications?
Yes, the current minimum specified temperature is -22 degrees.
Next question.
Lower than that?
Oh, sorry.
No. No, it's okay.
Can you limit the angle of rotation electronically?
Yes, good question. I don't have an answer to that question right this second.
Okay, we'll get back to this person.
Yeah, let's get back to that one.
Sure. Just want to give you all a fair warning, and we're going to conclude our webinar in just a few moments. If we did not get to your questions, I will make sure that Chris is able to answer your questions at a later time. But we are currently nearing to the end of the session, and I do have some questions that were not answered, so just be advised. Here's a great question. Can the product come in any other color than orange?
Yes, we do have the ability to offer a gray housing for the OEM applications. So yes, gray only. So standard Belimo is orange, and we will have a gray housing available for the OEM market.
Okay. Is the direction of rotation changeable?
For fail-safe, yes.
Okay.
That would be done through the app.
Okay. And can other passive sensors such as the 10K2, 10K3 NTC be connected to this actuator as well?
Good question. This is, to the best of my knowledge, this is not a universal sensor input. So the sensor range that was listed, I think, is the only option at this point.
Okay. And we can get better clarification and reach out to this individual as well.
Yeah, we'll have to address that one again. Yes, thank you.
All right, everyone, I appreciate you joining us today on this webinar. If you have any additional questions, comments, please feel free to email me, and I will get your questions answered. Friendly reminder, our next webinar is going to be on the 4th of April, same time, same place, and it's going to be on our brand new globe valve range. I want to give everyone a big thank you for joining us today, and Chris, thank you so much for doing such an excellent job. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you at our next webinar.
Thank you.